Good day everyone. We are the Group 2 and we will now present our report about government financial institutions. And before we start, let me introduce ourselves. I am Nino C. Ibaite, along with my group mates John Ferdinand Ingente, Lawrence Francisco, Ruben Ranoco, Jefferson Shoson, Bianca Francisco, Francine Geron, and Nadine Imperial. And we are the presenters of today. These are the four banks that we will talk about today. First is the Philippine National Bank. After that is the Lang Bank of the Philippines. Then the Development Bank of the Philippines. And lastly, the Amana Islamic Bank. And now, let's go to the introduction of the government financial institution and the Philippine National Bank that will be presented by Lawrence Francisco and John Ferdinand Ingente.
Introduction. The Philippine government has been active in banking business. This not mean true that the government deliberately competes with the private banking industry. The role of the government in banking system is to supplement the credit facilities of the private financial institutions. There are areas of economic where the private banks has been reluctant to operate not because of huge investment but to due for economic returns. In other cases, viability is not even certain. For these reasons, the government has to establish banks with special lending programs like socio-economic development of the small farmers, the Muslim regions, and the rural areas, among others. On this, the Philippines government's role in banking is to complement private banks, particularly in underserved areas. It established specialized banks to cater to specific sectors like small farmers, Muslim regions, and rural areas, which private banks often avoid to economic challenges or uncertainties. This ensures that these sectors have access to credit facilities. These are the facts about the Philippine National Bank. First, PNB is the one of the largest privately owned commercial banks in the Philippines. It is established in 1916. It has long history of serving the country's financial needs. It is a government-owned and controlled corporation under the supervision of Department of Finance or DOF. Second, PNB was originally established as a government-owned bank to support the country's economic development. And third, PNB provides a wide range of financial services to individuals, businesses, and the government. Here is the another facts about PNB or Philippine National Bank. Despite its government founding in 1916, Philippine National Bank or PNP is now a major private bank. Once state-owned, it was privatized in 1989 and it offers financial services to individuals, businesses, and even the government. These are the main functions of Philippine National Bank or PNB. First, deposit taking. Accepting various types of deposits such as saving accounts, checking accounts, and time deposit. Second, lending. Providing loans and credit facilities to individuals and businesses for various purposes, including personal loans, home loans, and auto loans, business loans, and trade financing. Third one, trade financing. Supporting international trade activities by offering services like letters or credits, exporting financing, and import financing. To summarize this, deposit taking involves accepting money from customers for safekeeping and earning interest, while lending involves providing loans to customers for various purposes. And lastly, for trade financing, supports international trade by offering financial services to facilitate the buying and selling of goods across borders.
Now let's talk about the products and services that PNB can offer to you. First one is the savings account. Um, First one is the debit savings na may 0.1% interest rate at initial deposit ng 3,000 pesos. Sa passbook savings naman, katulad na lang din nito, meron din itong 0.1% interest rate, but the initial deposit is much more higher, which is 10,000 pesos. Foreign exchange. PNB offer foreign exchange where you can buy and sell foreign currencies through them. Insurance products, life and non-life insurance policies, auto loans, financing for vehicle purchases. So this one is when you are buying or planning to buy vehicles, they can finance you to achieve those vehicles that you want. Online banking, accessing your bank through online, uh, cell phones, tablet, laptop, computers, anywhere online you like. So now let's start with the PNB or Philippine National Bank on its timeline and history. In February 4, 1916, Public Act 2612 was passed by the Philippine legislature providing for the establishment of the PNB to replace the 1 million government-owned agricultural bank. PNB's first head office was the Masonic Temple along Escolta, the then Wall Street of the Philippines. In the bustling district of Santa Cruz in Manila, an American H. Parker Willis was its first president. The first universal bank in the country. With the PNB establishment, Filipinos found a bank of their own. PNB was authorized to grant short and long-term loans to agriculture and industry. The Filipino farmers then could avail loans with the interest of 8% to 10% per annum. PNB was also authorized to receive deposit, open foreign credits, and discount bills. It was also given the special power to issue circulating notes such as PNB functioned as the de facto central bank of the country until 1940s. On July 24, 1916, PNB established its first branch on Iloilo. In 1917, PNB marked its own entry in the field of international banking when it opened its New York branch. The following year, it established 5 more domestic branches and another overseas branch in Shanghai, China. PNB briefly ceased operation in January 1942 but reopened the next month under the supervision of Japanese authorities. After the Second World War, PNB reopened immediately and acquired the asset and assumed the liabilities of banking and division of the National Treasury. With the establishment of the Central Bank in 1949, PNB's role as issuer of currency note, custodianship of bank reserves, sole depository of government funds, and clearinghouse of banking system ceased. PNB launched the first online electronic data processing system in the entire Far East. In 1955, it was authorized to operate as an investment bank with powers to own shares and to issue debentures. In 1963, it established the National Advancement and Development Corporation to engage primarily in long-term and equity financing of business ventures. PNB transferred to its new head office along Escolta in 1966 and launched the first online electronic data processing in the entire Far East. Between 1967 and 1979, PNB continued to expand its operation by opening offices in London, Singapore, Jakarta, Honolulu, and Amsterdam. In the domestic field, it opened 14 provincial branches. It was also during this period that the bank started the dollar remittance program. In 1980, PNB became the first universal bank in the country. However, it encountered operational difficulties in the mid-80s as a result of the economic downturn. triggered by the assassination of Benigno S. Aquino Jr. and had to be assisted by the government in 19. This happened on NAIA, where everyone knows that. I don't know if you know. Privatization of PNB. The privatization of the bank started when 30% of its outstanding stock was offered to the public and its stocks were listed in stock exchange in 1989. In 1992, PNB became the first Philippine bank to reach the 1 billion mark in assets. Also in the year 1992, a second public offering of its share was issued to continue its privatization. In 1995, the bank moved to its new headquarters at PNB Financial Center in Ross Boulevard, Pasig City. In the following year, 1996, the Securities and Exchange Commission approved the bank's new article of incorporation and by the laws and the change in the status of PNB from a government-based to private corporation, with the control of government reduced to 46% as the turnover rights on July 23, 1996 by the President Fidel B. Ramos declared a new beginning. In 1999, a group of new private stockholders led by the Lucio Citan acquired approximately 35% of the total outstanding capital of the PNB. In early 2000, the group increased its share in the bank to 69.32% and pumped in nearly 20 billion fresh capital in less than 1 year. This was done to emphasize the commitment of the new stockholders to improve the bank financial condition, which had been incurring losses in operation due to the poor asset quality. In 2000, the bank suffered a liquidity crisis and the national government stepped in to support the bank by implementing a capital restructuring and injecting 25 billion in liquidity assistance. In May 2002, the government and the Lucitan Group, representing the group of the private stockholders, sealed the Memorandum of Agreement (MOA) that embodied the provision that would help turn the bank around. It included, among others, the settlement of government's liquidity assistance by the way of increasing government stake in the bank from 16.58% to 44 and 44.98%. In effect, reducing the group share to 68% to 44.98%. At the same time, the bank started operating under a 5-year rehabilitation program. In August 2005, the government, as part of its privatization program, sold its 32.45% stake in the bank by an auction. The private stockholder represented by the Lucitan Group exercised their right of first refusal, reducing the government share to 12.5 and raising the groups to total of 77.43%. In June 2007, the PNB, or the Philippine National Bank, settled its 6.1 billion loan to the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the PDIC, more than 4 years ahead of the loan due. The loan repayment was clear indication of the bank's renewed financial health. In August 2007, the bank completed its Tier 1 follow-on equity offering where it raised about 5 billion in Tier 1 capital. Together with the sales of 89 million primary shares, 71.8 million secondary shares owned by the national government through PDIC and DOF were sold to the public, thus bringing about a complex exit of the government from PNB. Since the inception of rehabilitation program, PNB or the Philippine National Bank exceeded the target of the program. While the program called for profit starting 2005, the bank became profitable as early 2003. Within 4 years, PNB increased its net income 16 times from 52 billion in 2003 to 820 rather million in 2006. That's the history and timeline of the Philippine National Bank, or also known as PNB.
Now that we are finished talking about the Philippine National Bank, let's now go to the Land Bank of the Philippines. And here's some of the facts about the Land Bank of the Philippines. First, the Land Bank of the Philippines was established on August 8, 1963 and has the primary goal to provide credit to the agricultural sector and improve the living condition of the farmers in the rural communities. Secondly, the Land Bank of the Philippines was owned by the government and is supervised and controlled by the Department of Finance. And thirdly, the Land Bank of the Philippines has a mandate that includes promoting financial inclusion by providing accessible banking services to the underdeveloped communities and promoting sustainable rural development. And lastly, the main office of the Land Bank of the Philippines was located in Malate, Manila. The main functions of the Land Bank of the Philippines are the following. First, the agricultural financing. In order to help the farmers, fisher folk, and agribusinesses, the Land Bank of the Philippines provide loans and financial assistance to them so they can get capitals and solve their financial problems and have a smooth sailing businesses. Secondly is the rural development. The Land Bank of the Philippines supports the rural development projects including infrastructure, social services, and livelihood programs. And thirdly, the financial services. Like any other banks, the Land Bank of the Philippines provide a wide range of banking services including retail banking, corporate banking, investment service, and deposit accounts. This proves that even though the primary goal of the Land Bank of the Philippines was to help the agricultural sectors, it can also provide services like any other banks to the other people. And now, let's talk about the products and the services that is offered by the Land Bank of the Philippines. First, loans and financing. The Land Bank of the Philippines offer various loans products for agricultural production, capital investment, and microfinance. Secondly, the depository service. The Land Bank of the Philippines provides savings and checking accounts, time deposit, and other investment options. Thirdly, e-banking. The Land Bank of the Philippines has a modern digital banking services, including online and mobile banking, so that the customers can access the Land Bank of the Philippines whenever they are as they have internet connection. Fourth, the insurance. The Land Bank of the Philippines provide life and non-life insurance for their customers. Fifth is the foreign exchange services, which provide currency exchange and remittance services. And lastly is the wealth management, where the Land Bank of the Philippines advise their customer with their financial management and investment funds.
Good day everyone, I'm Bianca Marie Francisco and now let's proceed to the milestone or timeline in corporate existence of the Land Bank of the Philippines as of December 2020. First is the August 8, 1963, Republic Act 3844 or also known as Agricultural Land Reform Code. Noong August 8, 1963, na-create yung Land Bank of the Philippines or known as LBP para isupport yung mga farmers sa pagbili or pag-distribute ng mga lupa sa mas affordable price. May initial capital ito na 200 million na aabot din po sa 1.5 billion. Yung board ay pinamumunuan po ng LBP President and CEO, kasama na rin po rito yung iba't ibang representative and the head ng Land Authority. Tax-free ang LVP at exempted sa pagbibigay po ng dividends sa government, and yung ACA naman ay yung magbibigay ng loans sa mga small farmers at cooperatives para mas mapadali po nila ang farming life nila. Next is 1965 to 1966, which is the adoption of bylaws and creation of boards of trustees. In 1965, na-adapt yung bylaws ng Land Bank of the Philippines, kasama na rito yung pagbuo ng first organizational chart at manual operations na nag-set ng guidelines kung paano mag-operate ang bank. A year later, noong 1966, na-form naman yung Board of Trustees para mag-manage at mag-oversee ng operation ng LBP with the Secretary of Finance as their chairman. This move helped formalize the structures and leadership of the bank, ensuring that may clear direction of the organization para po sa pag-growth at success ng LBP in fulfilling its mission to support farmers in agrarian reform efforts. Next is the October 21, 1972 Presidential Decree No. 27 or Tenant Emancipation Act. And noong October 21, 1972, pinatupad yung Presidential Decree 27 na kilala rin bilang Tenant Emancipation Act. Ito ay para palayain po yung mga tenant farmers sa mga pribadong agricultural lands na nakalaan para sa pagtatanim ng rice or corn. And sakop din dito yung mga lupain na under sa share corp or lease tenancy system na kahit classified man bilang landed estated or hindi. Ang halaga ng lupa na ililipat sa tenant farmers ay based po siya sa 2.5 times ng average harvest mula sa 3 normal crop years bago po yung batas na ito. And yung Land Bank of the Philippines, naka-assign siya para mangolekta ng land amortization mula sa mga beneficiaries sa loob ng 15 years, kasama na rin dito yung 6% na interest every year. And this decree aimed to give farmers ownership of the land they tilled, empowering them economically. Third is the July 21, 1973 Presidential Decree No. 251 or Revitalizing Land Bank. Noong July 21, 1973, ipinatupad yung Presidential Decree 251 upang i-revitalize yung Land Bank of the Philippines dahil sa kakulangan nito sa capitalization at organizational structure para ma-meet nila yung pangangailangan ng agrarian reform. Binigyan yung LBP ng expanded commercial banking powers, kaya naging isang universal bank ito na may social mission na mag-develop po ng countryside areas. Nagkaroon din ito ng responsibilidad na magbigay ng pondo para sa mga agrarian land transfer at mag-loan sa mga maliliit na magsasaka or mangingisda. Pinalawak din ito yung kapangyarihan ng LBP na magpautang para sa mga agricultural, industrial at home building projects, pati na rin sa iba't ibang produktibong negosyo. Layunin din nito na tiyakin yung financial stability ng LBP habang sinusuportahan nila yung agrarian reform program, and pinapaangat din nito yung capitalization nito sa 3.something billion at dinadagdagan yung board members to 7, kasama na dito yung Secretary of Financing bilang chairman at yung LBP President bilang vice chairman. And bukod dito, yung LBP ay exempted sila mula sa lahat ng uri ng tax mula national hanggang city level. Fifth is the 1977 kung saan yung reorganization. Noong 1977, nagkaroon ng reorganization yung Land Bank of the Philippines para mas mapaunlad nila yung operation at matiyak nila yung long-term viability nito. Hinati nila yung LBP sa 3 major sectors, which is the agrarian, banking, at operation. Ang agrarian sectors ay nakapokus sa pagsuporta sa agrarian reform at mga pangangailangan ng mga magsasaka, and yung banking sector naman, responsible niya yung financial services at yung pagpapalago ng mga pondo sa bangko. And lastly, yung operation sectors, which is tumutukoy siya sa pang-araw-araw na pagpapatakbo ng mga programa at mga services. And sa pamamagitan po ng reorganization, mas pinagpapatibay niya yung kakayahan or kapangyarihan ng LBP na tuparin po nila yung social mission nito habang nananatili silang financially sustainable po. Next is the July 8, 1982 Executive Order 816 or Transfer of ACA to Land Bank. Noong July 8, 1982, pinatupad po yung Executive Order 816 na nag-uutos or nag-authorize sa paglipat ng Agricultural Credit Administration or ACA sa Land Bank of the Philippines, and yung layunin net ng hakbang na ito ay upang magkaroon ng mas integrated na paraan sa pagbibigay ng financial assistance sa mga AR farmer beneficiaries, kung saan mas mainam na magkaroon ng iisang institution na mag-handle ng lahat ng pangangailangan ng mga magsasaka. And dahil dito, na-abolish yung ACA at yung mga function nito, and particularly yung pagbibigay po ng loans at loans sa mga maliliit na farmers, and inilipat siya sa LBP. Sa ganitong way, mas pinapadali po nila yung at pinapadami nila yung access ng mga farmers sa financial services na naglalayon na mas mapalakas yung kanilang production sa kabuhayan po. Next is the July 22, 1987 Executive Order 229 or Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law. Noong July 22, 1987, ipinatupad yung Executive Order 229 na nagtayo ng Presidential Agrarian Reform Council bilang pinakamataas na katawan ng Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program para masiguro nila yung tamang suporta sa mga beneficiary. Itinatag nila yung Agrarian Reform Fund na may 50 billion para sa financing ng CARP mula sa Asset Privatization Trust at Presidential Commission on Good Government. Yung mga farmer na beneficiary ay dapat magbayad sila para sa lupa sa loob ng 30 years na may 6% interest simula isang taon pagkatapos ng resale. Yung Land Bank of the Philippines are responsible sila sa pagbibigay ng assistance sa mga landowners, kasama dito yung mga investment information or exchange ng LBP Agrarian Reform Bonds at marketing ng mga ito upang mapalakas po nila yung agrarian reform sa bansa. Next is June 10, 1988 Republic Act 6657 Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law. Noong June 10, 1988, ipinatupad yung Republic Act 6657 or Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law na ipinalawak yung saklaw ng agrarian reform upang isama yung lahat ng lupain na pampublic or pribadong agricultural lands, pati na rin dito yung angkop na lupain sa public domain. Ang mga landowners ay babayaran ng 25% hanggang 35% sa cash, habang yung natitirang bahagi ay sa 10 years agrarian reform bonds na may yield na katumbas ng 91 days treasury bills. Pinahintulutan ng Land Banks of the Philippines na mangolekta ng bayad mula sa mga farmers beneficiaries sa loob ng 30 annual amortization na may 6% interest. Itinatag din ng LBP bilang financial intermediate na CARP para mas maayos ang implementation ng agrarian reform. Next is the June 14, 1990 Executive Order 405 CARP Land Valuation. Noong June 14, 1990 naman, ipinatupad yung Executive Order 405 na naglipat ng responsibility sa pagtukoy ng land valuation at compensation mula sa Department of Agrarian Reform or DAR papunta sa Land Bank of the Philippines para sa lahat ng lupain sa ilalim ng Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program. Ang layunin nito ay para pabilisin or pasimplihin yung proseso ng land valuation at compensation. Nagtayo din yung LBP ng mga Regional Land Valuation and Landowners Compensation Officers or LVOs para mga siwa sa mga prosesong ito. And tinitiyak nila na makakakuha ng tamang bayad yung mga landowners, habang yung mga farmers beneficiaries naman ay magkakaroon ng access sa lupa. Next, the February 23, 1995 Republic Act 7907 Amended Land Bank Charter. Noong February 23, 1995 naman, ipinatupad yung Republic Act 7907 na nag-aamenda sa charter ng Land Bank of the Philippines. Sa ilalim ng batas na ito, tumaas yung authorized capitalization ng LBP sa 9 billion na nagbigay ng mas malaking pondo para sa mga proyekto at operation ng bank. Itinatag din ng LBP bilang official na government depository na nagpalakas sa tiwala ng institution, and bukod dito, nagdagdagan din yung mga miyembro ng Board of Directors sa Siyam na kinabibilangan na ng Secretary of Financial bilang Chairman, LBP President, and the CEO bilang Vice Chairman. And pati na rin po sa mga miyembro mula sa iba't ibang sectors tulad ng Secretary of Agrarian Reform, Secretary of Labor, and Secretary of Agriculture. Dalawang representative ng Agrarian Reform beneficiary at dalawang representative mula sa private sectors. And yung mga pagbabagong ito naglalayon sa para mas mapabuti yung management at operation ng LBP sa pagtutulong sa mga farmers at pagpapaunlad ng agriculture sa ating bansa. Next, July 25, 1995, Executive Order 267. Noong July 25, 1995 naman, ipinatupad yung Executive Order 267 na nag-uutos or nag-authorize sa national government na mag-issue ng agrarian reform bonds para gamitin ng Land Bank of the Philippines sa mga bayad para sa mga land transfer. Layunin din nito na mapadali yung proseso ng paglipat ng lupa sa mga farmers, and kasama rin sa kautusan yung paghihulay ng mga accounts ng CARP-related transaction mula sa mga libro ng LBPR. Dati, yung CARP accounts at yung AR bonds ay bahagi siya ng LBP books at nagdudulot ito ng problema sa financial position ng bank. And sa pagbabagong ito, inaasahan nila na mapabuti yung financial health ng LBP habang pinapalakas nila yung agrarian reform sa bansa. August 25, 1998, increase of authorized capital. Noong August 25, 1998 naman, tumaas yung authorized capitalization ng Land Bank of the Philippines sa 25 billion na pinagtibay ng Department of Finance at ng Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Yung pagtaas na ito, naglalayon siya na magbigay ng mas malaking pondo para sa mga proyekto or mga operation ng LBP na mahalaga sa pagsuporta sa mga farmers natin at sa mga pagpapaunlad ng agrikultura sa ating bansa. March 5, 2013, which is the extension of Land Bank Corporate Life. Noong March 5, 2013 naman, ipinatupad yung Republic Act 10374 na nag-extend ng corporate life ng Land Bank of the Philippines ng 50 years mula sa expiration ng original na terminate noong August 8, 2013. Yung layunin naman nito is para masigurado nila na tuloy-tuloy yung operation ng Land Bank sa pagbibigay ng support sa ating mga farmers at pagpapaunlad ng agrikultura sa ating bansa. Next, February 4, 2016, Executive Order 198, Capital Increase. Noong February 4, 2016, ipinatupad naman yung Executive Order 198 na nag-uutos sa Land Bank of the Philippines na itaas ang authorized capital stock mula sa 25 million hanggang sa 200 million, and kasama sa kautusan na ang provision ng capital infusion na hindi dapat bababa sa 30 billion para matulungan ang LBP na ipagpatuloy ang suporta sa sustainable at inclusive growth agenda ng gobyerno. And yung hakbang na ito ay naglalayon na palakasin po yung kakayahan ng LBP na magbigay ng funds at services sa mga farmers at iba pang sectors na nangangailangan ng tulong. Next is the July 27, 2016 Republic Act 10878, Credit Support to Farmers and Fisherfolk. Noong July 27, 2016 naman, pinatupad yung Republic Act 10878 na nagtataguyod naman siya ng direct credit support ng Land Bank of the Philippines para sa mga agrarian reform beneficiaries na maliliit na farmers at mangingisda. Dito, inatasan naman ng LBP na maglaan ng hindi bababa ng 5% na regular loan portfolio para sa socialized credit sa mga kwalifikasyon or kwalipikadong sectors na pinapayagan din ng LBP na mag-alok ng common at preferred share stock ang mga ARBs at maliliit na farmers sa pamamagitan ng kanilang mga organizations. Gayunpaman, kinakailangan din na ang national government ay laging may hindi bababa sa 2 or 2/3 ownership ng total common shares ng bank. Layunin din ng habang na ito na upang mapabuti yung financial access ng mga target group para sa kanilang pagpapaunlad. Lastly, September 11, 2020, which is the Republic Act 11494, COVID-19 response. Noong September 11, 2020, pinatupad naman yung Republic Act 11494 na naglaan ng mga hakbang para sa mga COVID-19 response at recovery interventions sa Pilipinas. Sa ilalim ng batas na ito, yung Land Bank of the Philippines nag-appropriate ng 1 billion upang subsidize ang pagbabayad ng interest sa mga bago at umiiral na loans na kinuha ng mga lokal na gobyerno mula sa government financial institution. And bukod dito, naglaan din ng 27.5 yung LBP para sa wholesale banking at equity infusion na naglalayon magbigay ng lower interest loans sa mga individual at entidad na naapektuhan ng COVID-19 pandemic. Ang hakbang na ito ay naglalayon mabibilis yung recovery at palakasin ang resiliency ng ekonomi ng ating bansa. Ayun lang po. Salamat.
So good afternoon everyone, my name is Jefferson Johnson, and now let's proceed to the Development Bank of the Philippines. Location of President of Development Bank of the Philippines. The Development Bank of the Philippines is headquartered in Makati City, Metro Manila. As of my last update in October 2023, Emmanuel Herbosa served as the President of DBP. However, for the most accurate and up-to-date information, it is advisable to check the official DBP website or reliable news sources, as leadership position may change. Regarding the leadership of DBP, the President of the bank is crucial to its functioning and strategic direction. The President is responsible for overseeing the bank's operations, ensuring it meets its development objectives while also adhering to sound banking practices. The leadership team translates government policies into actionable strategies, engaging with various stakeholders to promote economic development effectively. History about Development Bank of the Philippines. The Development Bank of the Philippines holds a significant place in the nation's financial landscape, serving as a key driver of economic growth and development. Presently, DBP has also made strides in promoting sustainable development and inclusive finance. The bank has prioritized investments in green projects, renewable energy and infrastructure, and addresses climate change. Additionally, it has worked to enhance financial inclusion efforts, ensuring the underbanked communities can access banking services and financial products to improve their livelihoods. The governance of DBP has seen various changes over the years, reflecting the political dynamic of the Philippines. The bank is under the jurisdiction of the Department of Finance, and its leadership play a pivotal role in steering the institution according to national policies and development goals. Ownership and Management Plan of Development Bank of the Philippines. Ownership and management structure of DBP is designed to facilitate its role as a governance institution as a development bank. DBP is primarily owned by the Philippines government, which holds a significant majority of its shares. In terms of management, DBP is overseen by a board of directors that is appointed by the Presidential of the Philippines. The bank's management team, usually led by the President of Chief Executive Officer, is responsible for the day-to-day operations. The operational framework of DBP includes a management team by late President who oversees daily activities, strategic planning, and implementation of programs. The management plan is centered around enhancing the bank capacity to provide financial services that address needs to different sectors, including infrastructure, agriculture, and small-medium-sized enterprise. The timetable of Development Bank of the Philippines. The DBP does not publicly provide a detailed timetable of its activities in a structured format like a schedule of calendar. However, it is typically engaged in various operations, projects, and initiatives that can be outlined in general terms. Establishment and early years, DBP was established in 1958, focusing initially on post-war recovery and economic reconstruction. Infrastructure financing. Over the decades, the bank has played a significant role in financing major infrastructure projects, participating in government programs aimed at social development, support for SMEs and agriculture. Throughout its history, DBP has consistently provided financial support to small and medium enterprise and agriculture development. Recent development in recent years, DBP has embraced digital banking, improving accessibility for clients and promoting financial inclusion. Annual reports. DBP publishes annual reports detailing its performance, project, and initiatives, which typically include a timeline of key projects and financial activities.
The Development Bank of the Philippines is a key financial institution in the country that focuses on providing development financing and banking services to promote sustainable economic growth. Its headquarters is situated in Makati City, which is one of the primary business districts in Metro Manila. Makati is known for its bustling financial services sector and hosts various banks and financial institutions, making it a strategic location for DBP. Beyond its headquarters, the bank has a widespread network of branches and offices across the Philippines. These branches are strategically located in various regions to ensure that banking services are accessible to a wide range of clients, including individuals, small and medium enterprises, and larger corporations. The presence of DBP in different areas enables it to cater to local development needs and provides financial support for infrastructure projects, agribusinesses, and other sectors vital to the Philippine economy. Bank of the Philippines also focuses on small and medium enterprises, offering tailored financing options, working capital loans, and support for business expansion. Additionally, they provide agricultural financing to support farmers and agribusinesses, helping to promote food security and rural development. Furthermore, the bank engages in public sector financing, providing loans and financing options to government entities for infrastructure projects and other developmental initiatives. Digital banking services are increasingly being integrated, enabling customers to access their account, transfer funds, and perform transaction online. Sa pangkalahatan, naglalayong itaguyod ng DBP ang paglago ng ekonomiya at pag-unlad ng Pilipinas sa pamamagitan ng iba't ibang serbisyong pinansyal nito na inaayon sa iba't ibang sektor at pangangailangan ng kliyente.
Good morning everyone, my name is Francel M. Garon and now I will discuss about the Amana Islamic Bank. History of Amana Islamic Bank. Al-Amana Islamic Bank traces its roots to the Philippine Amana Bank, established by President Ferdinand Marcos in 1973 by virtue of Presidential Decree No. 264. Amana Islamic Bank was founded in the context of increasing demand for Sharia-compliant financial services. In 1973, Presidential Decree No. 264 created the Amana Islamic Bank with an initial capitalization of 50 million pesos, intended to become a development bank. It invested 75% of its total loanable funds on providing, among others, reasonable medium and long-term credit facilities for the people of the Muslim-dominated provinces in Cotabato, South Cotabato, Lanao del Sur, Lanao del Norte, Sulu, Basilan, Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga del Sur, and Palawan. In 1974, Presidential Decree No. 542 returned the direction of the bank adopt no interest principle in Islamic banking and partnership principles. However, the lack of recognition and support of Islamic banking in the country made the bank less competitive in the predominantly conventional banking in the country. Ownership about the Bank of the Philippines. Amana Islamic Bank was founded on October 30, 2008. The Development Bank of the Philippines, DPE, obtained ownership of the 99.9% shares holding by acquiring the shares of the national government, SSS and GSIS. It was on November 14, 2007 when DPE approved the acquisition of AAIIBP, and on July 16, 2008, it took over full control of AIIB's operations. The Monetary Board approved the Bank 5-year Stabilization Plan, which focuses on 4 corporate strategies. First, namely, recapitalization, restoration of financial viability, reorganization, and reforms institutionalization. Under the Rehabilitation Plan, AAIIBP is allowed to continuously do both conventional and Islamic banking. In November 2009, DPE, marking the partial completion of recapitalization strategy, infused 1.0 billion capital to AAIIBP to be the leading and choice Islamic financial institution, providing alternative banking services in response to the emerging global Islamic markets and to promote and accelerate the socio-economic development of the Islamic communities in the Philippines by 2022. Location about the Bank of the Philippines. Southeast Asia, many Amana branches are located in countries like Malaysia and Indonesia, which have robust Islamic banking sectors. Middle East, some branches may also be found in countries like the UAE and Bahrain, known for their strong Islamic finance markets. Global presence depending on the specific institution. There could be branches or partnership in other regions catering to the global Muslim community. In 1990, the bank became a universal bank through enactment of Republic Act No. 6848, otherwise known as the Charter of Al-Amana Islamic Investment Bank of the Philippines, AAIIBP, which an authorized capital stock of 1 billion consisting of 10 million common shares. Its mandate is primarily to participate in the socio-economic development of the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao, ARMM, by promoting and utilizing Islamic banking, financing, and investment in agricultural, commercial, and industrial ventures in the ARMM. By mid-1990, of its branches Cotabato, Marawi, and Jolo began accepting and transforming ordinary deposit into Islamic deposit. The other branches have been transacting both conventional and Islamic banking products and services and facilities.
Good day everyone, my name is Ruben Miguel Emranaco and my topic is all about the milestone in corporate existence in Amana Islamic Bank. First, in 1973, Presidential Decree number 264 created the Amana Islamic Bank with an initial capitalization of 50 million pesos. Intended to become a development bank, it invested 75% of its total loanable funds on providing, among others, reasonable medium and long-term credit facilities for the people of the Muslim-dominated province in Cotabato, South Cotabato, Lanao del Sur, Lanao del Norte, Sulu, Basilan, Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga del Sur, and Palawan po. In 1974, Presidential Decree number 542 returned the directions of the bank to adopt the no interest principle in Islamic banking and partnership principles. However, the lack of recognition and support of Islamic banking in the country made the bank less competitive in the predominantly conventional banking in the country. In 1990, the bank became a universal bank through enactment of Republic Act No. 6848, otherwise known as the Charter of Al-Amana Islamic Investment Bank of the Philippines, in short AIIBP, with an authorized capital stock of 1 billion consisting of 10 million common shares. Its mandate is primarily to participate in the socio-economic development of the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao. In 2007, AIIBP managed its operation with the support of the Bureau of Treasury. On October 30, 2008, the Development Bank of the Philippines, in short DBP, obtained ownership of the 99.9 shareholdings by acquiring the shares of the national government, SSS and GSIS. It was on November 14, 2007 when DPP approved the acquisitions of AIIBP, and on July 16, 2008, it took over full control of AIIBP's operations. On October 22, 2009, the Monetary Board approved the bank's 5-year rehabilitation plan, which focused on 4 corporate strategies for ours, namely recapitalizations, restorations of financial viability, reorganizations, and reforms institutionalizations. Under the rehabilitations plan, AIIBP is allowed to continuously do both conventional and Islamic banking. In November 2009, DBP, marking the partial completion of recapitalization strategy, infused 1 billion capital to AIIBP. And lastly, 2022 to be the leading and choice Islamic financial institutions providing alternative banking services in response to emerging global Islamic markets and to promote and accelerate the socio-economic developments of the Islamic communities in the Philippines by 2022.
And that's it for our presentation. Thank you for listening, everyone, and have a good day.